All right, welcome back to another episode of Knicks Morning Coffee Recap. And we're going to jump into yesterday's exciting game against the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. Now, yesterday was one of those days where if you didn't see it, it would be hard to describe to somebody, because watching the game with my partner, Joe Cool, I know we didn't say it, but it looked like to us that that game was over, that we was like, okay, we gave them this one, let's move on to the next. But the word that kept going through my mind was resiliency and stubbornness, because so many times we could have just gave up and folded, but it was just something about the Knicks yesterday. They just wouldn't quit. And that's just like a credit to the captain, Jalen Brunson, and credit to Karl-Anthony Towns. They just stayed with it, and they fought all the way till the end. And then that was a miracle wild finish. Now, there was a little controversy at the end of the game, but we can't worry about that because it happened to us already in this series, and we didn't cry about it. We just moved on. So this is what the Detroit Pistons now, after yesterday's last second shot, was two things where they probably could have called a foul against the Knicks in the closing seconds. And then, big ups to the refs, because they was allowing them to play through the course of this whole series. So don't let it end on a 50-50 call of a foul. Let it be something blatant. And they held on and they bit their whistle and they didn't call it. So, we got to give the refs a little bit of slack on that one, because what goes against you comes back to you in other ways. Now, Jalen Brunson, he showed why he's the captain yesterday. Sometimes still a little bit too much dribbling, but that fight that was in him yesterday, that fight that was in Cat, and really the whole team. You go down to OG, McCall, which we have to talk about in a second, and then Josh Hart. Everybody contribute what they had to contribute to go into their bag, dig out this win. Now, I thought the coach could have went to the bench maybe a little bit more. We did get Deuce and we did get Payne in there, and Deuce was big. But it's something about, I don't know, we needed some shooting. We need outside shooting. And there's no reason to me to have Shamet sitting there when you can put him in the game and call his number. Because you look at Detroit, when they put, Anthony Hardaway Jr., even though he's a starter, Malik Beasley, they seem to know that they get in their shots. And when you come to the gym and you're getting your shots as a shooter, you shoot the ball way more comfortably. And then in the sense, it becomes more accurate. But the phenomenal job that we was able to do on the defensive end of trying to control Cade Cunningham, you got to tip your hat to Mikal Bridges. Now, we know that OG gets the bulk of the defense, but it's Mikal on the other side of the ball trying to shut down his man, which is leaving Cade without too many options after the initial stop. Now, with the new creation of NBA, new style of the pick and roll and picking, all the screens, you can't really guard somebody one-on-one because help is coming on the blind side. But on the opposite side of the ball, Mikal Bridges made it harder to look for somebody once you got stuck. And there was a couple of times where, Cade jumped in the air to pass and then there was nobody there, or they were denied. So our defensive plan is working and we have to stick with it. Now, also on the other side, the Detroit Pistons, they came in with a purpose that they're going to play us physical. And you look on the sideline and you see all the bad boys and the Detroit Pistons teams with Ben Wallace and them guys. I think they put a bug in the new players' ear that if you rattle the Knicks, they'll fold. Well, we haven't folded. And they're doing the best they can to get under our skin, to play physical defense. The 50-50 balls, they're going at them hard. They're trying to hurt us. I got to admit, it's a physical game, but they're doing some things that can hurt somebody in the air. But the Knicks are staying mentally tough. Therefore, we are fighting through all of that stuff to come out with the victory, which is the ultimate goal. Now, being that Boston lost to Orlando the other day, I think that also eased things, that Boston would have swept Orlando, then now we'd have been forced to get this series over with. Can't look ahead, but it's got to ease the minds of some of the players that, okay, we have another day. We have another day not to worry about if Boston is going to be home and resting. So Karl-Anthony Towns, the second game, he heard all the whispers. He heard all the print. He read the papers about how soft he is and how he disappears in games in the playoffs. Well, he came back 2 games in a row and showed why he was an all-star and why he made or will make, if he didn't, one of the all-time teams, for this season, first, second, or third, whatever one it is, he's going to make it because he's putting up stellar numbers and he's doing it when we need it. Now, he's not Giannis in certain instances, but the way he's pulling that trigger on that three, we need that because we for some reason, we're short of outside shooting, and that's mainly because we're not taking the shots. Detroit is taking the shots, and I was glad to see Brunson coming off the screens and pulling up. You don't always have to try to get to the hole. Brunson is an excellent shooter, and we need that outside shooting. And we also need the defense to stay honest when he does that, because that's a wrinkle he don't really do that much. So if Brunson can come out them screens and knock down those threes with one dribble, that's going to only help our offense and keep the defense like guessing where everybody's going to be, and it's also going to open up some things. And then if you had to look ahead to the series, Boston's not used to seeing that either. Everybody used to seeing Brunson go downhill. So the fact that he recognized the fact that if they back up off me, I'm pulling it, and I'm going to keep doing that, that just goes to show that he's mentally into the game. So when you combine him and Karl-Anthony Towns, and with the way Tibbs is coaching the team, we're not going to lose now because Detroit is not good enough to win 3 games in a row. We would have to totally self-destruct to do that. But now coming home tomorrow night to the Garden, let's just wrap it up. All right, let's get it over with, get ourselves together, go back, rethink some things, almost like an in-house mini training camp, and then be ready for the next series, which we know is supposed to be Boston. So, again, big up to the Knicks for not quitting. They had every opportunity in the world. I said the other day that we're guarding Cade Cunningham, that we're applying some of the Jordan rules tactics on him. And you can see it again yesterday. At every turn, somebody is stepping up to cut him off. And when we don't cut him off is when he's able to penetrate and go downhill. When we meet him at the point of attack, he's a different type of a player. He's not the same. And all we got to do is trust that help-to-helper mentality will be there. The bigs can't worry about somebody rotating. Coach, your job to make sure that they rotate back. And then we've been doing that. Now, the one thing they have going in their favor, besides the kickouts, because they're getting wide open threes, but that's been our problem the whole year. One of the things they do have in their favor, though, is when we have to cover and we got a smaller guy like Jalen Brunson, they're taking advantage of that. Surprised they're not doing it more, but they are taking advantage of it, and they're going over the top of them. But that's an adjustment that we'll have to make, and hopefully this series will be over before they really recognize that they can run that play almost every time. They can just pick on our small guys and just throw it over the top. So, again, kudos to the Knicks. Die hard, fierce, competitive the way that they played yesterday. If I had to tell somebody how they win, I couldn't do it, and I saw the whole game, honestly. I could not tell you, but I loved it. It's about time that we're finding ourselves on the other side of the spectrum in these type of games. And that's no knock to the Knicks teams of the past, but it's something about this team that just won't quit. All right? So until next time, peace.